All right, crew, let's talk reaching, because I've been saying this word over and over again for the last month and a half, and I want to make sure you guys understand what the heck I'm talking about. So when we talk about the reach, we're really trying to hammer on the fact that your shoulder, this little guy, is not the only thing involved, right? This little joint, we've got our shoulder, we actually have our shoulder blade, and then also what's going on here with our ribs. So in order for us to really have the healthiest shoulder we can possibly have, the strongest shoulder we can possibly have, we need to know how to reach, why it's important, and then what's going wrong if we're not reaching. I'm going to show you guys a couple of movements here where we can kind of highlight how the reach is important, how it affects the movement, how it's going to make sure our shoulder's happy, and then how to make sure that it's actually going to help us get the most out of each and every movement so that our workouts are as effective as possible. Also want to highlight, reaching is really important because the shoulder itself, like I talked about, is not just this little joint. We need to be able to move it such that we don't have any pain. We can counteract a lot of the poor, bad posture that we have all day and make sure that, again, that our workouts are as effective as possible. So let's dive into our first movement here. Our first movement, oddly enough, is actually not an upper body movement. You think reach, shoulder, you think, yeah, bro, let's talk bench press. We'll get there, I promise, we'll get there. We're actually talking about the front squat because the reach is actually a really, really important part of the front squat so that we make sure the shoulder is actually holding the weight and it's not supported by the wrist. But it's also going to help us actually squat as upright and as efficiently as possible. Because in the front squat, we want to think like we're on an elevator shaft. That butt just drops straight down in between my heels and it comes straight back up. When we establish a really good reach, that allows us to do that because the bar is actually going to almost kind of act as a little counterbalance. Like if I were to hold onto this pole and squat, I can basically just drop myself down and up. We want to create that same kind of sensation with the barbell. To create a good reach, I want to make sure that I'm not pinching my shoulders back. Look at where that bar is on my shoulders right now because I'm pinching my shoulder blades back. What I want to do is take my fingers out in front or my hands out in front and reach those shoulders through. So as opposed to back here, right, this would be kind of shoulders back, not reaching. Reach, and now I've got the bar more out in front of me. I've got more of my mass in front of me so I can sit back. What it looks like in the actual front rack, right, this would be a non-reaching. Right, I'm really struggling to get my elbows up and through. I got a lot of the weight on my wrist. I'm gonna really have to like awkwardly try to sit myself back. If I get those elbows up and reach the armpits forward, now I can squat. Straight down, straight up, straight down, straight up. That is why the reach is important, not only in our upper body movements, but in our lower body movements, to make sure the stress is on the right muscles, right? Obviously, it's going to be the quads and the lower body here, but also so that we're not taxing the wrong things. The wrist and the elbow shouldn't be carrying the load here. We want to make sure it's stacked right on top of us, and creating that good reach by pushing those armpits forward is going to help us do that in the front squat. Let's take a look at another movement, an upper body movement, where we can really use the reach to create good shoulder mechanics. All right, we covered the front squat, why the reach is important there. Now, we gotta talk pressing, right? We wanna get huge. Beach season's almost here, but it'd be dope if we had healthy shoulders. So let's talk about it. The most important thing with the reach in a press is that it doesn't turn into a crunch and slouch, right? It can be really tricky here because you're like, oh great, yeah, I'm pushing my arm forward. Well, you still wanna be tall and reach purely from that shoulder and that upper body, not this guy. We're gonna go with a one-arm bench press. So we're gonna lay back. I'm gonna have my hand up overhead. A non-reaching shoulder would look like this, right? I'm kind of like letting that shoulder blade sink into the ground. You can kind of see my t-shirt flatten into that bench. A good reach would be here. See there's that kind of space now underneath my shoulder or between my shoulder and the bench. Super important here. So let's go through an actual rep. So I'm gonna bring that arm down, my shoulder drops into the bench, and then as I press, I reach. It's that little extra finish at the top. Boom, that's gonna help that shoulder stay nice and healthy. As we do that, right, we're going through our pressing movements. We should feel like we get a lot more pecs and a little bit almost like a stretch in the backside of that shoulder. A lot of times in these like postures and positions where we're doing this like texting or whether it's typing, we get this either kind of like overly pinched back or maybe even like overly stretched position. We wanna make sure we're able to put that shoulder through a full pull back and a full reach forward. going to keep us pain-free, it's going to keep our workouts on track, and then it's also going to give us the most out of each and every movement and each and every rep, which is why you guys are here, right, to see results. So that's all we've got for reaching. If you got any questions, drop them in the comments or ask me at the gym. See you guys around.